It's a luxury to be able to work this hard.
Yeah.
It's a luxury to have this many hours to be that successful for my family. And I think that really separates the winners from losers. Any lifelong salesman will tell you process is the most key thing to a sale. I didn't have any leads. The only way I would get leads is by creating my own. And I'd type the number in, I'd see the person, and I'd just pick up the phone. I wanted to make as much money as possible, and I wanted to get out.
Getting that money, did that get you hooked?
I just lived a fast life, bro. I loved living beyond my means. I was making 6 figures a year, paycheck to paycheck. Like, I thought I was pretty cool at that time of my life, and really I was just a loser. Being that low and facing death the way that I did definitely changed me as a person. I'm thinking I'm dead. And that part of my life, you know, things got pretty dark for me for the first time. My whole story, it's extreme highs and extreme lows. It took a lot of losing to be the winner I am now, and this part of the story is one of them, right? And I really just needed to buckle down and turn the switch on. And that's when, as soon as I turned that switch on, boys, I was a totally different, not just salesman or business owner, I was a totally different person.
What's it like seeing the success of your hard work?
The most addictive thing I've ever done in my life.
I'm changing who I am. I'm making a new plan, rearranging my life, and I won't look back.
Welcome back to the Super Rise Podcast, aka the #1 podcast in Winnipeg, where we document the rise and stardom of Winnipeg's talent and personalities.
Yeah, let's get it. I don't want to waste any time because this man is deserving of the best. So I want to start off and read you a quote that you posted yesterday. It says, "Success is not easy and certainly not free. Sitting around waiting for your next big deal won't pay your bills or elevate you to the top. Stop bitching about your bad luck or poor me and put in the work. Double your output. This means you might need to double the calls that you make, knock on the double of the doors, work double the hours. If it was easy, everyone would do it. There's only one number one. No excuses, just results." Walk me through that, brother. You've earned your way to the top respectfully, right?
Thank you.
And yeah, what that is an inspirational quote for me, because I am in the very mindset of I work hard for the little things. And so take me through that and why you posted that.
Well, I posted that actually, and you know, my pro tips, a lot of guys that, let me start over. A lot of guys that I really admire, like Brad Lee, Grant Cardone, and business guys that I look up to, and I buy their books, I read their books. It's all very factual. For me, a lot of my stuff is very emotional. A lot of my colleagues will agree. I can be an emotional person. So for that pro tip, I actually heard one of the sales reps, you know, saying, "Oh, poor me. Like, I got bad luck this month." It's not about bad luck. There is no luck in car sales. Sure, you can maybe get that one person that walks in looking for a car and you're the sales rep that gets it. Is that luck? I call it timing. For me, you're only ever going to be as good as the work that you put in. So if you're not seeing success in the amount of hours you're putting in, then double the hours. If you're not getting as many appointments because you're not hitting the phones as hard, then double the phone. To a guy like me, it's just self-explanatory. The harder you work, the more people you're in front of, the more cars you'll sell, or whatever product is that you're selling. It's doubling up the effort, just like I said. If you're at a lull, then double the effort. It's all about hard work at the end of the day.
But you're not new to hard work. You've been working hard your entire life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know, I have been working hard my entire life, but you know, but anyone can work hard, right? It just comes simply about putting in the work. You got to be willing to put in the work, because success isn't free.
Yeah.
Right.
And that hard work has gotten you, like, we're at St James Volkswagen right now.
Yeah.
Got the black label rep and the big black
Where
label
Winnipeg
behind
comes for Volkswagen boys.
And so all these accolades come from somewhere. All the experiences you've had, those lead to the points where you are right now.
That's right.
So where does this journey start for Brock?
Well, you know, when I first got out of high school, I messed around like most young teenage boys do, and I did a lot of partying, and you know, a lot of friends of mine grew up and were in the Victoria Beach, Lester Beach area. You guys know where that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's beach country, and I actually met a girl who was moving back home to Calgary that I didn't want to leave. So I decided I was going to go to Calgary and try and find a job. And I actually found a job working in oil and gas. Excuse me. So I started that. So no part of me actually ever really wanted to be in car sales. I was thinking I was going to have this massive career in oil and gas and make hundreds of thousands of dollars and live my life. So that's kind of where I went to start.
And that was in Alberta, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
you've built so many things in terms of like you're a person that wears many hats in terms of the business world, the car sales. Was this always in the cards for you?
No, it definitely wasn't. The only reason I ever got into car sales is because I needed a job when my rig shut down. Excuse me. And you know, I was pretty severely hurt at one point in my life while living in Calgary. I was involved in a motorcycle accident that almost took my life. And that's why I have the scar underneath my eye. It broke my orbital bone. A lot of people think it's a tattoo. It's not a tattoo. I'm not that hard, okay? It's actually a scar from that accident. You know, I punctured lung, broken ribs. I was pretty beat up, you know, and that part of my life, you know, things got pretty dark for me for the first time. You know, I think I've had struggles before that, but being that low and facing death the way that I did definitely changed me as a person. It definitely made me look at life a lot different too. You know, laying on the ground, lungs filling up full of fluid, passing out, losing consciousness. And like, boys, every time I'm doing that, I'm thinking I'm dead, right? So you go through all these things in your mind. Like, I remember thinking like, my poor family, they're gonna miss me, right? And then at the time, I'm not a religious man, but you're praying to every God that will listen to you because you don't want to die. Yeah. And I was doing that, right? So, and then I remember waking up in ER, and then I remember one of the nurses complaining about all my tattoos because she couldn't remember, or she couldn't, find a vein to stick me. And she was like complaining. I just remember that one part very vividly. And then I remember waking up, and then my mom, I was in Calgary, my mom lived in Winnipeg. She was in the room. So I knew it was bad because I didn't know how long I was asleep for. And first thing that happens when you crash a motorcycle is you're worried you're not gonna be able to walk again. So I was trying to wiggle my toes and I couldn't get my toes. So I start crying. It was like super emotional experience. My mom sees me, she wakes up. And I'm a super ticklish guy. I can't believe I said that on camera, but and my mom obviously knows that, so she started tickling my feet, right? So then all of a sudden my toes start moving, right? Because that stimulation is stimulating my feet and my legs. So that happens, and learning how to walk again sucked. But we got through that one. So in that process of that accident, you know, it put a big strain on the relationship I was in at the time. So that relationship ended, and I moved back home to Winnipeg to live with my folks and they kind of helped me, nurse me, get back to health. But while doing that, I needed a job, right? So when I got actually stable enough, I got out of my wheelchair and I was actually able to be a member of society, I went back to car sales. So I've always had one foot in, one foot out, right? I started in 2009, I think. Went to the rig, and then got hurt on my motorcycle, came back home, needed a job, back to car sales. And then I just really concentrated on my personal fitness at that time and just trying to get the strength back up. And then the rig called again because it always, trust me, that rig always comes calling, guys. So it called again, and back to Alberta I went again.
Was there ever hesitant to go back? Because, you know, when I play soccer, for example, I hurt my knee last season, and now whenever I'm in the particular moment of the exact, like I have that vivid memory of how that injury happened, and so when I'm in that same spot, I'm like, I don't go as hard.
Sure.
Or like you kind of like get scared that you don't want to re-injure it. Was that ever a moment for you where, you know, you're going back to Calgary, you've experienced the extreme low of even not being able to walk? Right? That's a privilege that we take for granted every day.
100%.
And now you're going back to the same spot. Was it ever a thought of, maybe I shouldn't do this?
No, there was never a thought of not going back to Calgary, because when I got my strength about me, and at that point in my life was the best shape I've ever been in, because I hated not being able to walk. And like, just, you take a lot of small things I took for granted. Again, so my fitness was prime. So I wasn't scared about going back to work on the rig. I wasn't scared about going back to Calgary. Riding a motorcycle? Yes. Yeah. So that was the last time I ever rode a motorcycle, and I haven't even touched one since then. Definitely some PTSD that has come along with that. Yeah. I'll never ride one ever again. You know, taking my family for granted. Now I have 2 beautiful children and a fiance at home. The idea of losing them and leaving them because, you know, I want to ride on a motorcycle, it's just not for me. I got lots of friends that I grew up in it, man. I've always been riding bikes, but it's just not for me anymore. Yeah. So yeah, I was scared. So never a bike again. But not the city itself, no.
Yeah. You mentioned that like during the time you were in the hospital, you like played with the idea of self-doubt and religion. How dark did it get?
It got dark, man. You know, seeing how upset my mother was, and my mother like literally having to uproot her life to come help me in ICU so I could get out of ICU and get back to, you know, my living situation at the time. You know, it makes you feel horrible. that you're putting someone else through so much pain. I put my whole family through pain, but I think my mom suffered the most from that. Seeing her like that was pretty bad. And the self-doubt for me at that point in my life was more about being feeble. I remember like I lost tons of weight. At that time I was like 150 pounds. I was just weak and feeble, and being kind of like the alpha mentality I think that I have, that was the hardest part for me. So dealing with like your looks and your strength and that kind of stuff, and not having that about you, that was hard for me.
Would you say that was like your rock bottom?
No, I've definitely hit more. I've hit rock bottom worse than that in my life for sure. But that definitely was the first, I guess, traumatic experience, or probably the first low I think I've had in my life. And it just associates, that story just kind of associates jumping back and forth from Winnipeg to Alberta, which I've pretty much done my whole adult life.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So where do you build from that quote unquote rock bottom? Like that was your first, you're getting into your adulthood life. And so starting that off with a big hit like that, that's not easy, right? For any adult. Right. And so where do you build from there?
I think the fear of it sounds rude, but the fear of being a loser. I hate losing still to this day. I'm a very passionate person, and I always wanted to be the best I can be and win, and being in that physical and mental state, and just kind of comparing myself to other people, which, is a bad trait to have. And I still do that to this day. It's something that I'm working on. Comparing myself to other people I knew or my friends, and that desire to not be that way, kind of helped lift me out of there. And at that point in my life, I was a young kid. I had made some really good money. So for me, it was just about, getting strong and looking cool, right? Yeah. So I think a lot of the mental health issues that, maybe that I have struggled with didn't really start till, I was a lot older than that.
Did you ever question, like, why me?
Not in this instance, no, because I knew why me, because I was a dummy, and I was doing some things I shouldn't do. I'm the first person to always fall on their sword, and the first person to always take responsibility for when I made wrong. That's something that I strongly believe in, and even in business I do that too. If you make a mistake, own it, learn from it, don't make it again. Hence why I won't drive a motorcycle again. I learned it, I owned it, I moved on from it, and at that time of my life, it definitely made me a stronger person.
Let's talk about sales now, right? Or even working the rig. You're working 16, 17 hours a day, right? In the cold, in the middle of like the ocean, probably.
Yeah, stuff's for the birds, bro. Yeah.
Like, talk to me about that experience and how, if you took anything away from that into your sales life, like, what's the mentality that you take from the oil rig to now what you do in Black Label as well as St. James or?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the oil rig in comparison to what I do now is two totally different worlds. Yeah. I was two totally different people at that time of my life. The oil rig, one thing it will teach anyone if you stick it out is hard work and work ethic. Yeah. I've worked in some of the worst conditions known to man, known in Canada. I've worked in -50, where your whole body, like your coveralls, are actually frozen into the state that you're moving in. That's how cold it is. So your arms are frozen like this, and I'll never forget, we were on the high-level border going into the Northwest Territories, and my arms were frozen like this, so I could literally let the weight of my arms sit in the coveralls, and I could literally just move my body like this because I was just my whole body was frozen. Yeah. And some of the types of people that actually work in that industry, because all you need is a heartbeat and a driver's license to have that job. And as busy as it was at that time, you do attract a lot of not positive people, and people that have a lot of mental health issues or drug problems, or they're running from something. That's where a lot of, I feel like, Canadians go to, right? It's not just about making money. It's the little, effort it is to get the job, I guess. Right. So I guess what I took away from that was definitely work ethic. And I still think about those guys all the time. And, it's -40 here in Winnipeg. I'm sitting on my perch at the podium, and I'm not going outside. Yeah. So those guys, they got a hard gig. It's a hard life, and that's why you get paid what you get paid.
Yeah. What was it actually like on the oil rig? I don't think we touched on, like, in terms of what you were doing, and then why being out there for so long. Was it a money thing?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So, you know, everything has its seasons in life. So for me, in the fall is the best time to work, because if you get on a good crew and a good group of guys, it's like you're just hanging out with your homies all day, and the work's hard, but that alpha male mentality picks up. Like, I'll pick up more pipe than you can pick up, or you're all giving it 110%, and that type of work. Yeah, but it's like we all look out for each other too. Like you take this sense of pride in getting the job done, and those are the type of people that exceed in that world.
Yeah.
And same with what I do now. I have that same sense of taking pride in exceeding and finishing a job, if you will, or getting the accolades. And that's another thing I took away from there. But working in -50 was the complete opposite. It sucks. There's many times that I was like wishing I didn't take on that job. I wanted to come home. You're homesick. There's a lot of negative things that come along with that job, for sure. But there's positives too. It's like life, though. Really, you know, you get paid for being that uncomfortable, right?
Going from working in the oil rig, like you said, the most grueling work conditions, and now when you get into the world of sales, what's that like?
Two totally different animals, man. For me, it was easy, because I thought to myself that working behind a desk at the time, being new to sales, was easy compared to slinging, you know, huge pipe wrenches on frozen pieces of steel all day, right? Getting soaked in fluid and freezing and dealing with all the hard work conditions, and just a labor intensive job, bro. Like picking pipe all day is not easy for anyone. It's a tough gig. If you guys ever have time, just Google it. You can like watch videos online what these guys go through. It's a very labor intensive job to work on a service rig. Nothing's really automated. You have winches and stuff, but it's like all manual labor, right? So now I'm behind a desk, no manual labor, right? So it was two totally different worlds.
No, it's funny you say that, because I got the opportunity to work in construction this past summer. So being in a mud hole with guys that, you know, like you said, aren't in the best mental health state, but they'll outwork you.
Oh yeah.
They'll outwork, like, bro, I was working with 60-year-olds, and I'm a young, like, 23-year-old lad. I think I'm pretty strong, right? Bro, this guy's picking up rocks, throwing them across the river. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. But my thing is, when you take a person that's been in that environment, who knows nothing but hard work, and you put them in an environment where, you know, you get a nice little chair, you got a comfy suit, you know, you get to like rock with people. Like, all you're doing is selling. At that point, that's like a lion in a forest, right?
That's
it's like, yo, I see a target, I'm gonna lock it in. So do you always feel like that in the dealership, where you're locked into a target? Like, as soon as they walk into the door, you're like, okay, give me your money at that point.
You know what? Of course, and that just goes to always being on, right? I didn't pick up that particular trait till later on in my career, but of course, in sales, you always want to be ready. You always want to be on. The difference between the rig and sales is completely different. Sales is more of a mental, strategic game, and you have to be a personable person. I've worked with some guys that barely spoke English on the rig, seriously, and not because it was their second language, their first language. I've worked with guys that couldn't read safety meetings. I've worked with guys that couldn't spell their own name. Like I said, but if you're a hard worker out there, that's all that matters. You can't read, big deal. You could drive a car and you're strong and you can do the work, you're hired. So in sales, very different. Even with me, you know, I did a small stint at Red River College, not the most educated guy. And now that I'm in management, you can definitely tell. My grammar's not good, my spelling's even worse, but you know, with practice and repetition, it comes. So two totally different worlds, right? But one thing, the only thing that I took from the rig, I'd say, is the work ethic. And that's kind of what's turned me into the hard worker I am today, is that experience and being forced and punished to work that much.
So let's transition into the sales now. Like, what drove you to start the sales? Like, I know you were 1 foot, one in out, or one in. But what was the transition of like 100% now I'm in?
Well, I never wanted to be in sales, to be honest. I didn't like the job. I was just naturally good at it. My grandfather was a salesman for 30, 40 years, 50 years, and kind of grew up, you know, spending a lot of time with him out in Brandon in the showroom. So it just came natural to me to be a salesman. I didn't like it at the time. I didn't want to do it. It was more of like a spring breakup job when my rig was shut down. And that hence the 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You know, when I crashed the motorcycle, I needed a job when I got better. And I couldn't go to the rig till I was 100% because it being so labor intensive. And then I got hurt again, and I broke, I shouldn't say broke, I fractured my tailbone in my hip, and I had 2 herniated discs in my lower spine. And that pain was worse than any motorcycle accident. It sounds silly to say because, you know, it's just lower back injury, but that lower back injury changed my life 100%. So being hurt that bad at work and trying to rehab, and the situation that I was in, you know, my living situation was horrible, man. And while dealing with that, I was going through relationship issues with the girl I was with at the time. One of my best friends lost his life around that time too. So you compact all three things on there, and you know, it being mental health month, you know, I kind of want to share that with you guys because that was by far the deepest and darkest I've ever been in my life, for sure. You know, trying to recover from that injury, you know, and thank God I had so many good friends and family that really, to be honest, carried me through that, recovering from that injury. And that's how I transitioned into sales, is because I tried other avenues. I went to the School of Construction, trying to be a safety officer. I did try other things, but I had to go back to get a paycheck because I was starving. So I had to get paid. So that's why I transitioned into sales full time. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. Yeah.
During that time when, you know, you said that was a lot of things are just piling on and it just gets darker and darker. What was the day-to-day like? Were you able to see like the end goal of like, okay, I'm gonna get better at this?
No.
Or
no, definitely not.
what was the day-to-day?
Well, so at that time in my life, the way that it worked with WCB, and this isn't a shot at WCB because without them, my life would have been a lot harder than when it was. But because I was hurt in Alberta, they wanted me to stay in Alberta. They didn't, and being from Winnipeg, that was hard. I wanted to be at home with my family, but due to the contract and the money, I had to stay in Alberta. So I was living in a hotel room in, I guess the north end or the north side of Calgary, and commuting to rehab for my spine every day, 5 days a week. And being alone in Calgary with no friends and family around, just by phone, was tough, man. I was depressed and dark, and now here I am a week again, not looking like myself, you know, definitely not as handsome as I am now. Just kidding, I'm kidding. But, you know, just not 100% there. And being in that kind of spot in my life was horrible. And then even, you know, still moving forward little bits by little bits. Like I remember being so broke. There was a Dollarama right by the hotel I was staying at. There's a gym and a Dollarama. And I remember I was so broke that I went to the Dollarama and I bought noodles, spaghetti noodles, and pasta sauce for $2.50. And that's what I ate all week, was spaghetti and pasta while going to this rehab to heal my back. Because I was just so broke. Because what WCB pays isn't a lot of money, you know, and always having a problem saving money. I didn't have any, right? So getting through rehab, WCB then says, well, you can never go back to work in the rig because your spine is forever going to be changed now. So they actually paid for me to go to school. So, but it has to be in Calgary again. So I lived in a hotel again. I lived in a hotel for almost a year while going through rehab and then going through school. Graduated the Alberta School of Construction, taught my classes as a safety officer. So this is my plan now. Sales is still not even in the picture. So I'm going to go be a safety officer. And I'm walking with a cane still. I'm not 100%. Like I'm still pretty beat up. Went from wheelchair to a cane, or walker, then a cane. So I had this cane. So yeah, I'm walking around with a cane, and I'm going to these interviews, and they're open interviews, right? So you go to one and there's 30 guys there. I'm the youngest with the least amount of experience. This went on for months and I could not get hired. So WCB calls me. All right, Brock, bad news. You're coming up to the end. You need to find a job and we're done paying you. So now I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So I actually convinced them, sell them, as I like to say, sold WCB that they need to pay for me to move to Calgary because they made me stay in Calgary for so long. I would become accustomed to the city. I'd made some friends, and I went to school here. And what they didn't know is the construction rules or guidelines are different from province to province. I'm like, I'm construction in Alberta now. I can't go back to Manitoba. So I convinced them to move me. So they moved like all my belongings from Winnipeg back out to Alberta. And I got myself a 1-bedroom apartment. I had enough money to pay first month's rent and my damage. And I was flat broke, no money. So I needed a job. So the only thing I know to do at this time is like bartending. I did for a little bit. And with my experience from the rig, I couldn't go to the oil field because oil was low. They weren't really hiring for office positions or safety or anything like that. So here I am back in the auto business. So I applied for a bunch of jobs and I only got one interview, and that was for a Ford store that I worked at for years in Calgary. And that's pretty much where the sales that I learned and the skills that I learned started. So that was kind of the real kicking point to my career. I tell people like, yeah, I've been in the auto business for 14 years, but really I've probably consistently, probably 6 or 7 years back to back. And that was the real start to me wanting to pursue sales, and especially automotive sales as a whole.
When you got the job interview, like during the job interview, your mindset was just get the job?
Get the job.
Get any job.
Tell us, man. And it's a funny story, actually, how I got the job too. I pulled up to go to the interview, and they had custom trucks there.
Okay.
So it was called Team Atlas. I named it Team Atlas. It was called Atlas before. So it's their line of custom trucks, their version of Black Label, if you will, just on trucks only. And I was looking at one of the trucks, and this guy came out, and I thought he was a salesman. And he says, "What do you think of the truck?" And I said, "Oh, it's kind of ugly." And he says, "What do you mean it's ugly?" And I said, "Oh, well, it's got the wrong size of rims on it. The tires suck. Like, why would you do this to a chrome truck?" And I went on, and he said, "Well, what's your name?" I said, "Brock Dennison. I'm here for your interview." He says, "I'm David Ross. I'm the guy interviewing you."
Ooh.
Yeah. So, but that got me the job because I knew a little bit of, offsets and rims and custom stuff that comes along with building custom trucks. So that kind of helped me get my foot in the door. And he was pretty much the first mentor, him and another fellow by the name of Thomas Kerstrong. The two of them kind of gave me the tools and the skills I needed to be successful at that time in my life when it came to, building custom trucks. And I still deal with the team out in Calgary still to this day.
Yeah.
When it comes to wheels and tires, Innovative Auto Works, Carrie and her team over there, Ryan and Tyler and Kevin, they're the best, man. Without those people, those initial group of people, I never would have learned about custom trucks. I never would have learned about custom cars, and I never would have had the sales skills that I was taught at that dealership to be as successful as I am.
What tools did they give you to be successful?
Just stuff from day-to-day basis. And what I mean by basis is like the sales process. Any lifelong salesman will tell you process is the most key thing to a sale.
Yeah.
Once you get a master of that process, that's when you really start elevating your game. Getting taught Dave and Tom's process, what really elevated me, just learning what to say to people, what not to say to people.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't have any leads, so the only way I would get leads is by creating my own. So Dave used to come and give me a list of like 200 people. And I'd type the number in, I'd see the person, and I'd just pick up the phone. And I would try and book an appointment to sell them a new car. So not having any money, needing a paycheck, I was forced to do that job, which some would say is kind of the harder part of the business, is you're essentially selling an appointment to possibly sell someone a car. It can be hard to book people. But I got good at it because that's all I did for, months.
Yeah.
And I got so good at it, I slowly started coming up through the ranks there at that Ford store, and the success finally started coming.
The first paycheck, what was that like? Because now you got the job, and now you're ringing up calls, you're booking appointments. What was it like when you got the first sale or the first paycheck?
Well, the first paycheck I got there was addictive.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, because you go from making oil rig money, which is a lot. I was a young 20-year-old kid. I worked in the rigs like early to mid 20s. I'm making 6 figures working on a rig as a young kid, which is a lot of money for a dumb kid that I was. And I spent every penny of it. Getting a paycheck that would afford me that same lifestyle in an office that was heated, and I didn't need boots and all this stuff, and I didn't have to worry about losing my life, which I almost just did, right?
Yeah.
It all of a sudden clicked on, and it was easy now. The work was easy. It was just putting in the work. Putting in the work is the hard part, they say, but for me it was the easiest part, because what I was comparing it to was night and day difference. This wasn't hard work, man. So you're telling me I got to dial 200 people a day, and I had 200 appointments. If you book, we'll just say 20 appointments, 10 will show, and if you can sell 5 of 10, you just sold 5 cars, right? So the numbers are different for everybody, so that's a loosely based, but at the end of the day, the more you call, the more you sell. So that was easy.
Yeah. We often talk about the effect of, we called it, I think on our last podcast too, with the boys only, the baseline. It's, you talked about comparing it to construction. We're always like, okay, if I have to do the baseline, which is make 5 calls, I'm comparing that to being minus 50.
Yeah.
I'd rather make the 5 calls.
Hell yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, you're right.
So it's funny that you brought that up. Now, getting that money, did that get you hooked in terms of, okay, now I see the amount of money that I can get. If I just work a little bit harder, I can maybe double the next paycheck, right?
Exactly. And this part of my life, or this story that we're talking about, goes to show exactly what you read to me when we first sat down.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I was making good money now as a salesman, a green salesman. And I thought to myself, well, if I got paid X and I want to make double X, how do I get double?
Yeah.
You work double the amount. The writing's on the wall. This is one part of sales that frustrates me with new staff, is like, just some people just don't get it.
Yeah.
I get everyone's got personal lives, but is this a job, a career, or a life, or your life? And at that stage in my life, It was a job. It wasn't a career. I wanted to make as much money as possible, and I wanted to get out. And then I was lucky enough to take over Atlas. I turned it into Team Atlas, and I hustled that. And I found great success with Atlas and meeting people, shaking hands. I used to do car rallies. I would sponsor trucking Mustang clubs. I would have events. And one event I love telling the story is I was sponsored by Monster at the time, and I'm out there. I've told you guys this story before, and I'm just slanging Monsters like with a big megaphone, like, who wants a Monster? I'm Ford Brock. Here's a Monster. You want a Monster? Come look at my F-150. Just trying to get people excited about it. And this guy took a picture of me and he posted an F-150 for him with a big clown mask on top of me, like, you know. And I wasn't good with dealing with that type of hate at the time. It didn't really bug me, but it bugged me enough that I'm telling you the story right now, right? I got better at it with time, but still, that kind of shit still bugs me. But I was just a hustler for the cash, not for the career. And it wasn't until I parted ways with that Ford store that I really thought, you know, I could do this.
Right.
You know, I could do this. I had people from all over Canada calling that Ford store looking for an Atlas truck, wanting to see Brock in the video with the Atlas truck. So I started making a name for me, not just in Alberta, but Canada-wide. So when that started happening, I thought to myself, well, it's not the truck they necessarily are buying, it's the person in front of the truck. So that's when I started looking at branding myself as the business.
We talk about this in our last episode as well with Bryn. She says there's a lot of competitors in the marketing agency world, but they're not buying her marketing agency, they're buying her.
That's 100%. I totally agree with that. One thing I hope people take from watching this podcast and hearing my story is that making money is easy. Is making millions easy? Probably not. But I'm talking about just making enough money to sustain your living and to get comfortable. It's easy. When you listen to my story, I've had so many falls, lows, and so many highs. And, you know, almost losing my life twice, losing, as we're going to progress into the story of Black Label, losing it twice and building it to where it is. It came from nothing to everything, to nothing to everything. So if you have the determination and the grit and the grind to make that paper, go get it then. What's holding you back from making it? I'm not scared. I'm not scared of anything. And it took almost dying twice to give me that. But if you're not scared and you're willing to put yourself out there and you're not afraid of a rejection, which I'm not, there's money to be made for everybody. It's just that determination, that ambition, and the grit that it takes to get there.
100%.
I mean, you say money making is easy, but those skills don't come easy. Like those attitudes and all those are something that you've learned throughout your life. So
That's right.
someone who may not have those, they'll be like, "Man, this is so
Well, why don't
hard."
you? Well, let me ask you a question. Why don't you have them?
Exactly. I don't know.
Why don't you have them? Because you never gone looking for them.
Exactly, right?
So I was lucky. I was at a lucky point in my life where I was given those skills because I was at pretty much the right place, right time. But while given those skills, I saw opportunity to make money with them. So I think a lot of people that, you know, may be listening to this and sitting at home saying, "Oh, poor me," fuck poor me. Sorry, I don't know. Can we curse in here? Yeah. Fuck poor me. I don't do poor me's. My staff don't do poor me's either. My friends don't do them. My family don't do them. We don't do poor me's. There's a solution for every problem, and I learned that on the rig as well too. Like it might take bubble gum and some Scotch tape, but we'll figure it out. There's a solution for every problem. So let's solve your problem. What's the core of your poor me's? You don't have a job? Perfect. Go get a job. It's pretty self-explanatory. And this is something I'm passionate about because common sense to a lot of people doesn't make sense. And that's the thing that really drives me crazy. Like, you know, people are like, "Oh, you're so successful now. What happened?" I'm like, I didn't give up. I just kept working. So when you hear poor me, I hear I give up.
That is a mentality that I think a lot of people, even myself, still need to work on, right? I think we get in all of our heads of, you know, if something doesn't go right, then you're like, "Oh, why me? Like it could have been anyone else, God. Why me?" Right? But I think that just comes from, I think, just stacking the small wins of, you know, I did this.
I love that you said that. I love that you said stacking the small wins, because it takes a lot of small wins before you get the big one.
Exactly.
Right? And especially when we talk about sales, it takes a lot of regular sales to get the big one.
100%.
Right? It takes a lot of big ones to get the accolades and the trophies, right? So everything starts with little wins and they eventually progress into larger wins, right? So I love that you said, I'm going to use that. Can I use that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to use that.
It's yours, man. It's not even mine, bro.
I'm going to use that the next lecture I give. I'm going to use that. I love that.
Stacking the small
Stacking
wins.
small wins.
You did that.
That's going to be a pro tip of mine, actually. I love that. Stacking small wins eventually will create the big one. Yeah.
Because you'll see it after. You'll see the big win as those accumulation of all those small things.
Well said.
That's why we, you know, say everything happens for a reason. Is because,
Oh, you said it. You said it. I love that too.
It's because that. So you worked at Ford, right? You started stacking your wins. You got on Atlas now, right?
Yeah.
Is that what planted the seed to birth Black Label?
You know what, to be honest, it's embarrassing, but I trust you guys. I'll share it with you. The seed for Black Label was kind of a rough relationship between me and the Ford store I was at the time. You know, I had these two guys that I mentioned that, you know, I still think the world of, that I was letting down, right?
Yeah.
I was a young, how do I say this? I was young and now I had money again. And I spent it as fast as I got it. And I partied a lot of that phase in my life. And I didn't have a lot of respect for the job culture, the working man culture. What I mean by that is I call in sick, I come and go as I please, and they let me get away with murder because I sold so many cars, which is common in our business, right? So at that point in my life, I was 10 to 15 cars. And when you sell that many cars, you're not gonna fire that guy because he makes a lot of money for the store. You're gonna try and mentor him and help him. And they tried to help me a lot, and they mentored me a lot. And at that time, I thought to myself, you know, us constantly butting heads, they decided, and I decided it was probably best that we parted ways. Yeah. So when I left that store, I couldn't take Atlas with me. But I'm known as this custom truck guy, so what am I gonna do? So after some heavy drinking on Black Label, my friend and I, and I'll give him the shout out, and I've said this before to you guys, because he's the one that actually came up with the name. So he came up with the name Black Label, and I thought, you know what, that's gonna stick, because it kind of reminds me of like an elevated, something that's a little finer class, a little bit more luxury, something that's a step above the competition is the Black Label.
Right.
And that's why I came up with the name, because I didn't have Atlas anymore, right? So luckily for me, I got into another Ford store that believed in me and knew me as the Atlas guy. So I took over as now the Black Label guy at another Ford store, and on to business we went.
Was it hard pitching them?
No, it was easy. It was easy because, you know, Calgary is a big city, but automotive is always small in whatever city you're in. Yeah. So, and you know your competition just as well as you know the people that you work with. So they knew who I was, right? We would go back and forth with car deals all the time. So for them to get one of the top guys from a rival store was a win, especially an Atlas guy. Now they had a product they could compete with Atlas. Yeah. And at the time I was jaded. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take all my clients. I'm going to steal so many deals from them, which I really didn't, you know, but that was a young man at that time, and now being, you know, I like to say an adult. I look at that time of my life and I'm like, man, you were such a dumb little kid. And I've apologized to Dave and Tom before too. Like I've honestly reached out to them and been like, I'm sorry, man, I was an idiot. Like, but you know, lessons to be learned. And like my whole story and what I hope people take away from this is like, learn from your lessons. Don't make the same mistakes. You know, I like to say I only ever make one mistake once. Yeah. And you learn from that mistake, be better than it.
Yeah. So now, you know, building to Black Label what it is, right? I'm sure there's highs, and I'm sure there's even more, way more lows. Oh, yeah. Talk to me about the lows.
Oh, bro. My whole story, it's extreme highs and extreme lows. Yeah. There's no regulating. There's no just getting by, just going through the paces. And in my life, it's always been that way. It's extreme highs with huge excesses and huge lows, very low lows. And at this point in my life, everything is suggesting where I'm about to go into another low with just the way I was acting, and the way that I was conducting my business, still looking at now, starting to see it maybe as a long-term career. And then COVID happened. Yeah. And I've told you guys this story before. It's like they shut the lights off on us overnight. I remember crowding around the TV and watching Trudeau come on and explain to everyone what COVID was and how we're gonna have these restrictions and all this stuff. And we're like, holy shit, like what's happening? What's gonna happen? And when that happened, like I said, lights are off. No more truck deals. Hard to sell a $100,000 truck when no one's working. And we were deemed an essential service, so we actually stayed open. And I literally sat in the showroom and didn't talk to a person. Try calling someone and getting them to come out of their house. They're worried to be infected with COVID. No, it's really not that bad down here. Come down and like test drive a car. Like, I wouldn't even make that phone call. And I didn't. Honestly, I didn't. That store at the time thought that I should be, and I refused. So I ended up getting laid off. You know, again, it was mutual. I wasn't making money anyway. So I got laid off, and I was in a one-bedroom apartment in Calgary by myself with my dog. Not able to work, not doing anything. And we all had COVID assistance, which, you know, it helped, but it's not enough money to really get by. So broke as a joke again, didn't save a penny. Lost all my money transferring dealerships. Really, that was really the downfall. I had a big jacked up truck I was driving at the time that cost me way too much money. I won't even tell you how much it cost me. It would make you both sick. But man, I was cool. But that's the point of this story is like, I thought I was pretty cool at that time in my life. And really I was just a loser. And that hurts me to say out loud, but I was a loser, right? And it took a lot of losing at that time in my life to be the winner I am now. And this part of the story is one of them, right? You know, losing Black Label at that time. I don't want to say I lost it because I still physically owned it. I still had it, but I lost it because I wasn't selling it. I wasn't doing the videos. It wasn't a part of me at that time. It was just like a business I was trying to do.
During that phase in your life when you're like, your money was coming in and you're spending it, why were you spending it? Was there like,
Yeah, that's a great question, man.
did you grow up with money? Did you have money when you were growing up that once you got it, you were like, okay, I need to show everyone that I have it?
Yeah, no, definitely not. Like growing up, I come from, fairly humble beginnings. Like, don't get me wrong, like, my brother, my sister and I were definitely taken care of very well by our parents.
Yeah.
But, we weren't multimillionaires or anything like that. I think that stage in my life, having money, I just lived a fast life, bro. I worked at Ford. This was before the fancy jacked up truck. I drove a Mercedes, right? Way beyond my means. I loved living beyond my means. I was making 6 figures a year at like 25, 26 at this time, roughly, somewhere in there. I was making 6 figures a year and living paycheck to paycheck, right? And I had a lot of fun. But yeah, you're right. I loved to flex at that point in my life. I was more of a show off. I was an egomaniac at that point of my life. I had to have the big rims on my Benz and,
But it felt good.
It felt good.
Yeah.
But I had different morals and ideals at that time. That time in my life, I just wanted to have fun with my friends and spend my money that I worked so hard for and have those, the nicer things in life, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And that bites you in the ass when COVID comes and now you don't have a job and now you got no money. So I'm much better with my money now, but so that's definitely another lesson I took from that experience as well.
So when COVID hit, now pretty much all your customers are gone. Your money's not where you want it to be. Where do you go from there?
Not booming.
Yeah, and so at that time I was like really struggling. Again, with everything I'd been through, I was really struggling with the death of one of my friends. It was really bothering me, and I did a lot of drinking at that time of my life too, a lot of partying to help kind of mask what I was going through. I have great friends in Calgary, and they were all wanting me to stay in Calgary. And my one really good friend, Jordan, he said to me, bro, you got to go home, man.
Yeah.
He's like, you're not doing well here. He's like, go home, get yourself together. You can sell cars there. They have car dealerships. Go be with your family. And my other buddies were like, no, stay, have another beer. Like, you got any smokes? Right? I mean, Jordan really took the initiative to like look out for me as a friend. Wow. Yeah, man. And he's like, go get a U-Haul. I'll meet you at your place. We're loading you up. You're going home. So I said, all right, man. If you say so, let's do it. So that's what I did. Loaded up my U-Haul and I started my trek back home to Winnipeg, and that would have been 2019-ish. Yeah.
Why'd you listen to Jordan?
Because I got a lot of respect for him, and it was the way that he went about the conversation. It wasn't like, maybe you should. He was like, bro, I love you. I know you better than anyone. You are not well. Yeah. You need to go home. Wow. Right? Because he knew how close I was with my mom and my brother and my sister and my dad, and he's like, you need to go home and be with your family because like the lifestyle you're living is not conducive. You're not making any money. You're drinking all the time. You're dealing with some mental illness with the death of my friend, and you need to go home. So I took his advice because the way that he went about it, right? He wasn't forcing me to do anything. He was generally concerned about my well-being, and so because of that advice, I went home. And it's a good thing I did, right? Because if I wouldn't have we would never have met. And this is why I always preach. Now I believe in everything happens for a reason. Because without that advice, I never would have made it my way back home to friendly Manitoba.
What was it like coming home?
It sucked, man. Yeah. It was horrible. Yeah, it was brutal. You feel like a loser again. Yeah. You lost. You moved to Calgary now for the 3rd time, and you've lost 3 times. Moving home again, broke, and I always tell this story about landing in Brandon in this U-Haul, and I swipe my debit card and it's insufficient funds, right? And I just made over $100,000 last year selling cars, no money. And I go look in my app and I see I got money in my savings, so I transfer it to your checkings. I'm sure you guys got online stuff too, right? And then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I got to win. Now I can get to my condo in Winnipeg, right? Yeah. And then, coming back to Winnipeg, it was back to humble beginnings, bro. It was rough. The first 6 months of me being back in Winnipeg were not favorable for me at all.
Yeah.
Were there people that were like rooting on your downfall? Like those haters were probably having a field day when you came back.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Winnipeg and me have had a love-hate relationship my whole life. That's why I've always been leaving. So coming back to Winnipeg, you hear what people are saying about you, and that really bothered me at the time because a lot of people I haven't seen for years, right? But you know how the rumor mill starts. People hear one thing and they say another, and I'd lost a lot of really good friends of mine along the way, not just no longer friends with them because you had a falling out, but to death. And I lost a lot of friends at that time of my life, so it was really hard for me to come back here. But I really had no choice, right? So it was either continue doing what I'm doing in Calgary or take that risk and come back to Winnipeg. But yeah, to answer your question, there was more people rooting against me than for me. But the people that rooted for me, they're members of my family now, right? And I built such a strong team at home and a team at work that it really shines through now.
This is where you're raised, man, right? This is coming back home. Like you're in your natural habitat. Like I like to say, even though that's
no, it makes sense. I'm with you.
So now you're back home. What do you do? Like,
oh man,
do you pick up where you left off?
No,
or?
back home it sucked, boys. I slept on an air mattress.
Yeah.
And then I had an IKEA box as my bedside table that had a lamp and my iPhone plugged into it, and that was my bedside table. And at the time, I had this massive dog, and he slept on it with me too because he was a big baby. So it was like I'd be like elevated so high off the ground because he was so heavy on the other side of the mattress. And then once we got through that phase, we got all out of the air mattress. Then I got a mattress on the floor and a box spring. Moving up,
Living life.
yeah, moving up. And then eventually, eventually things started working out for me, right? And obviously, I got furniture and stuff as time went on. But don't get me wrong, it's funny because I had his U-Haul full of stuff and I had nothing, right? Like, what was in it? Like, why did I even bother? I just left it. Like, I had a couch and like a table and some TVs, but like nothing that I probably ever really needed.
What was the first step when you got to Winnipeg?
Find a job and get back on my feet, right? Luckily for me, my mom lent me a ton of money, and so did my dad. I shouldn't say a ton, enough to get me like on my feet and so I could eat and stuff. I wasn't eating Dollarama spaghetti. I was now eating bologna sandwiches, so I moved up from that. So that was a big win. I love bologna, so that was good. A lot of ground beef and rice. It's cheap and it keeps well. So that part of my life was tough at the beginning. But yeah, next step, finding a home for Black Label, because now I knew this is what I'm going to do. I'm in Winnipeg. I know when it comes to work in Winnipeg with my skill set, what else am I going to do? I'm not going back to construction. I need to make this work. No matter what it takes, I need to make this work. So I hit the ground, started looking for a gig.
So what was the process of, now you're eating bologna sandwiches. You're no longer eating steaks.
Yeah.
You're no longer living the fast life that you're so accustomed to.
Right.
So when you get the opportunity and it presents itself, are you bouncing on the opportunity like this is it? You got one shot, right?
100%, man. It's got to be the right opportunity, but not just in business, but in life, it's all about leveling up.
Yeah.
So while I'm sleeping on an air mattress, I leveled up to a mattress.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end goal for me was, I've always wanted a family. My end goal was to, be in a king size bed with a beautiful woman next to me and some kids running around in the house. Right. That's what I wanted, and eating steaks, not bologna sandwiches.
Yeah.
I love a good steak, right? So always wanting to level up is key to success. It's key to business, and I feel like it's key to anyone's personal life too.
Yeah.
Being okay, being stable is, as you guys have heard this story of my life, it's never happened for me. I've never been stable my whole life. I'm a little bit more stable now, but obviously with my kids and everything else. But being stable makes me uncomfortable.
It's the truth though. Like when you get comfortable, right? You start to overlook a little aspects of certain things you do in business or even in sales. I'm sure like, oh, I know how to sell a car. This is light work. Like,
Come to me.
They'll come to me. Like I'll sit here with come.
Yeah.
But you miss the small aspect of what the basics are, right?
Right.
You got to hit those basics so you can get that big sale at the
Right.
end of the day. Now talk to me about getting your first job in the sales, coming back home.
Yeah, so that was interesting, right? Because when it came to automotive, I was pretty unknown here in the city. Like I had some friends or some people that I knew in Winnipeg that followed me through social media and saw the rise and fall of Brock Dennison in Calgary. But other than that, I was pretty unknown. So I needed to find a dealership that I could pitch the idea of Black Label, that believed in the idea, and I could show them it could be profitable. So I started applying for dealerships. In the automotive industry, finding someone that had years of sales experience in auto is massive. I think it's easy to get a job, but we look for that first, right? Because nowadays it's hard to find experienced sales reps that have been in automotive before. So it was easy for me to get my foot in the door and get into those meetings, but some dealerships just didn't see Black Label as a whole. They didn't see the idea of the branding. They didn't get that, building a custom car was actually a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's not just a piece of metal. And to me, that was old school mentality that I wasn't wanting to be a part of. So I needed to find not just any job, and I was going to take some of them if I didn't find them, but I needed to find someone that wanted to adopt Black Label as their own, not just wanted Brock as a sales rep. So most of the places that I went just wanted Brock as a sales rep. And I got some good offers because, I guess a couple of years ago, I was negotiating my own pay plans and stuff. That generally doesn't happen anymore for most dealerships. However, back then it was. So I was fielding offers, if you will, and I actually accepted one. They saw the idea of Black Label, but they weren't super bought on it, and they thought, that maybe we'd start working on it after I kind of proved myself as a sales rep. And I told them I'd take the job, and then I told them I wouldn't take the job. And I took another one on a fluke, and it kind of worked out.
What was the story for that?
It was, I went out partying with my friends, moving pretty slow Saturday, and I get a phone call from a mutual friend of mine, mutual friend between me and the vice president of a GMC store that I worked at. And he says, I need you to meet this guy. I told him, Black Label wants to meet you. And I said, oh, thanks, man, but I took a job. He says, no, you got to meet this guy. I said, well, when? He says, now. I said, now? He's like, trust me, you have to do it. Get your ass out of bed.
Yeah.
So I'm like, where is he? He's like, oh, he's at Browns. And I'm like where? Like, what Browns? On the complete opposite. I'm in St. Vital, right? So south. He's deep north, right? So I'm like, well, when do I got to go? He said, now. He's there now. So I roll over, moving a little slow from the night before, get myself together, and I get my car, I rip down there. I'm a little nervous because I didn't get a chance to strategize. That's one thing I preach is strategize every sale, strategize every appointment, every meeting, be ready to close. Because there's no option to me but to close. Always be closing. So I didn't have an opportunity to do that. So I'm role playing in my head as I'm driving. Like I said, not 100% there. A little foggy from last night. And I go to meet this guy, and he's got one of his buddies there. It's not even an interview. He's drinking beer with his buddy. So I introduced myself, and this was Jason Cross, who's the vice president of a Cadillac GM store here. And that was it right there. I met him. I did a quick little presentation. He bought in right away to the idea of it and the branding of it. He understood the lifestyle that possibly comes along with owning a custom truck and a custom car. So he bought in right away, and that gave me a sense that this was the right move. And having another offer on the table, I said, well, I have another offer. I kind of have a feeling it was, no, you start Monday. And I said, well, he says, what do you want? So I told him what I want. He said, Kate, no problem, you start Monday. I was like, well, kind of got another job I got to talk to you. He's like, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. See you Monday. So I should go see the store, shouldn't I? He says, well, yeah, then go see the store, like very nonchalant. Go see the store then. Call me later, man. Nice meeting you. And it just daps me up, like not like your cliche suit and tie business meeting. You know what I mean? So I went and saw the store, and I walked through the building, and at that time there wasn't a lot of reps, so that made me feel like that maybe I could be a bigger presence in the showroom. They had lots of really great inventory, and the showroom was beautiful, so I decided to take that opportunity. So I called Jay back and said, I'll accept your offer and I'll start work. And then I started as a sales rep, not as Black Label, so took some warming up for that first.
Have you ever asked him what he saw in you?
You know what? I never did. I know what I can say is when we parted ways, it was like saying goodbye to a friend, and it hurt, man. It was like a breakup, right? It stung because that guy means so much to me in the business. He gave me my start here with Black Label in Winnipeg, and if it wasn't for him, it would not be as successful as it is, hands down. That's the honest God truth. And he protected me because when I first started, I still wasn't making the best decisions, we'll say. I was still calling in sick, not coming to work, bad attitude a lot of the time because I was butting heads with my other managers because they just didn't buy in. They didn't buy into my style. They didn't buy into my arrogance. They didn't buy into the idea of Black Label. So I was this with them all the time. And I was told a story. They were actually trying to fire me at one point. Yeah. And Jason says, no, you're not firing him. He's my guy. I hired him. I'll fire him if I want to fire him. I actually crashed a car too, actually. It's another funny story. So while not being liked by anyone, not even other sales reps, no one would even talk to me. I'm showing an Acadia to a customer, and I'm ripping through the lot because I grabbed the wrong one, and a staff member comes out. I totally forgot about this, and I rear end the back of this car. Oh no. Yeah, it's like
brand new car?
It's like month 2.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and they hate me, and I called in sick the day before. So like, you're fired.
Yeah.
So anyways, I park it. Don't tell anyone instantly what happened. Finish my sale, get the sale. So while telling the GM.
Sorry, but
so at the end of it, while he says, "Oh, they didn't like the white one," and I said, "Yeah, both the white one. Can we talk after?" And he's like, "What'd you do?" I was like, "We'll talk after. I'm just gonna wrap this up." So I wrapped it up. I got the car deal, and I said, "Yeah, I crashed the white one. I hit our assistant service manager's car, his staff member." So it was a big deal. And I thought for sure I was getting canned that day, and I didn't get canned. So that was the beginning of Black Label. It was very, I want to say toxic, right?
Yeah.
Butting heads with a lot of people. And in this industry, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
Right.
And I was the new dog trying to teach old dogs, how I wanted to sell cars, how I wanted to present numbers. And I just had a different style than the way they did things, right? So at the beginning, there's a lot of headbutting. So I'm happy that I had Jason protecting me, because I probably would have lost that job. And he just believed in Black Label, and without him believing in it, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I owe that guy a lot.
When did you realize the power of Black Label? Like, you've established Black Label at GMC, right? You're building custom trucks. When did you really realize, okay, this is something I can build into an empire?
When people started recognizing me in Winnipeg as the Black Label guy. I had people coming up to me at the gym, like asking for like trade advice, like, hey, I'm driving a Dodge Ram, like I saw you on Instagram, man, like what do you think? Like when I started kind of getting a persona, if you will, a little bit, I really started thinking like, holy shit, this is actually taking off. And then through YouTube and again social media outlets, and like let's be honest, my Instagram social media is not massive. Like I'm not a big social media person. I just post what I love, and it's more for a small bit of advertising, of course. But I had people from like out of country calling me and wanting a Black Label, and that's when I knew that I was onto something, and I really just needed to buckle down and turn the switch on. And that's one thing Jason has said. He said that I knew you'd be successful as soon as you found your way and you turned that switch on. As soon as I turned that switch on, boys, I was a totally different, not just salesman or business owner, I was a totally different person.
Would you say your fiance now was a part of that flipping that switch on?
Yeah, I credit her everything. And again, this whole story, I talk about all these people that were in my life that were monumental to me in Calgary and my journey back to Winnipeg, and she's definitely the biggest one. Meeting her was the switch, right? And she says all the time that, I was kind of a shithead at the time we first met, but she saw the potential in me, just not as a business owner or a salesman, but as a father and a boyfriend, and obviously now going to be her husband. So she saw the potential. So she stuck it out with me in the beginning. And the beginning of our relationship, boys, was tough. Like it wasn't like all sunshine and rainbows, right? It was tough for us, and we stuck it out together. And yeah, I love her to death, and it wouldn't be without her. It wouldn't be without her to be where I am, right? And she's the one that helped me deal with a lot of the mental health issues that I have about, the loss of my friend. And, I deal with that all the time, and she's accepted that as who I am and helps me deal with it as well. So without her, I would never have been as successful as I am now. And that's the honest to God truth.
Was the switch immediate, or did it take a while?
It took a while, for sure. It wasn't immediate. It was her telling me she was pregnant with our son. So we got pregnant early. And that was the switch, right? So, meeting her, definitely, we were wiggling the switch, if you will. And then her telling me that she was pregnant was the switch. Because now it's not just her that I'm worried about, or myself, because as I've proven in my whole life, I'll always figure out a way to make me work. And then you come into a serious relationship, now you worry about two people. You got to figure out a way to make two people work, right? And then now when you have a kid, totally changes. You're responsible for two people now. And providing for two people. So when she told me she was pregnant, that was the switch. I remember coming into work the next day. I made 200 phone calls, and that was the biggest year-to-date month I've ever had in my life. Was the month that I got the news that my son was going to be born. I did 22 rides that month. So that was the pinnacle for me. That was the most I'd ever done in 1 month.
Do you think a part of that was the fact that, when you become a father, you want your son or your daughter to grow up with a role model that, they're proud of, someone they look up to.
100%.
Like if something goes wrong, they know that dad's there, that's going to take care of them. So even in your early 20s or coming up to this point where you meet Stephanie, right?
Yeah.
Now it's, how to take care of yourself.
Right.
The man you are. Now you got to make sure your little one.
You're the dad now.
Now you're a dad, man, right? That changes your whole life.
Scary shit, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you got people to take care of.
That's right.
You got to put food on the table. So that was your why.
That is and still is my why.
Yeah.
Right now, I just don't have my son Titan. I actually have another daughter. Her name's London. She's turning 1 actually next week. So I have 2 now, right? So now we're a family, and the way I look at it is Stephanie's a huge contributor as well too. Like she's got a harder job, and she's at home with my kids 7 days a week so I can be here with you guys shooting this episode, right? Sunday today for everyone to know. And I was here last Sunday and I was here the Sunday before. So Stephanie allows me to be able, or shouldn't allows me, gives me the luxury, if you will, of working the hours that I do. Because a lot of people think like, oh, you're working too hard. It's a luxury to be able to work this hard. It's a luxury to have this many hours to be that successful for my family. And I think that really separates the winners from losers in my eyes, is the people that look at working that way. Oh, I gotta go to work. Oh, I gotta leave at 5. That's not how I look at it, right? I'm about making money. We get paid when we sell, so I need to sell so I get paid to take care of my kids.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be stressed. It's a privilege to be pressured.
That's right.
You said you wanted, you know, when you had the air mattress and the thing, and the bologna sandwiches and the cardboard box. You wanted, you know, the nice bed, the kids, the family.
That's right.
The silk sheets, right?
Silk sheets would be nice, man.
Like,
no, I like that. Yeah, that's good. I need to get some silk sheets.
Now you're
Get
here.
a game changer.
That's right. Yeah, now I'm here.
Now you're here.
Yeah.
What does that feel like?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And, you know, my biggest worry in my life now is what's for dinner when I get home. And that sounds corny, but that's it. I don't worry and stress about money anymore because I have the luxury of making my own.
Yeah.
I'll go out and get it. You know, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm no millionaire by any means, but when my family needs something, I'll find a way to get it regardless. And if that's money they need, then I'll go get that bag. That's just how it is for me personally. And when I do the mentoring and the leadership and I do my sales seminars, it's more about personality than it is actually about sales tactics and tricks and tips. Because you need that type of kill or be killed mindset, in my opinion, not to be successful. Everyone finds different levels of success, but to be the top dog, you need that. You need that obsession. And to me, success is you need some type of obsession.
Was that a part of the reason why you are now at St. James? Like,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, it's 100% why. You know, I feel like in my sales career here in Winnipeg, I started checking off all the boxes, right? So one of my goals was, you know, to be the best. I feel like I accomplished that. I wanted the accolades, so check. What's next for me now? I kind of feel like, I hate to say I mastered sales because I'm by far not a master. I'm still learning every day, clearly, in this new role. But for me personally, I think that I definitely checked the box off when it comes to sales. And my next box is a new opportunity, which is sales management.
Yeah.
So, and that's been a humbling experience.
What's the difference now that, you know, just like similar to, actually, there's a couple parallels here in terms of you and your family. Now you have a team on the business side as well that you also kind of have to take care of and you're the leader of.
That's right.
What's that pressure or environment like?
You know, the environment's changed a lot, obviously, because I'm no longer just focusing on myself. I got to focus on the team, which is still something that I'm learning every day. Dealing with different personalities and different selling styles and that kind of stuff. And it's been a humbling experience. But now my goals aren't just for Brock or Black Label to succeed and get the accolades and awards. It's for the team to get the accolades and the awards. So I'm no longer just thinking about myself. I'm thinking about how as us as a team can we do the volume we need to achieve these types of accolades and to get paid these stacks that we all want to make, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, accolades come before money to me, but the money comes with accolades. So it's here nor there to me.
So how do you build that team? How do you build a team of top performance?
Hard work and dedication and ambition. You need the right people on the team. And you need different people on the team, right? So the management level, we're all so different from one another. Our selling styles are all different. And that's what I think makes us a whole team. Excuse me. It's almost like a coach is calling in a player to go do one certain type of play, right? I might be more talented at certain areas and my colleagues are more talented at certain areas than me. And I'm blessed to be on this team because they're great. They're the best there is, in my opinion.
Do you think the culture also plays a really important role in, you know, creating that top tier team?
100%. That is single-handedly the most important.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about a team, the team has to function together as one unit.
Right.
And historically, and probably still today at a lot of dealerships, the sales floor can be a very toxic place to work because you're a bunch of alpha male or females competing to be number one. You're competing for that sale. There's a lot of hostility and why not me? And this person gets more and blah, 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 blah. Sorry, excuse me. Here at St. James, it's not that. It's not like that.
Yeah.
The staff here do not fight with each other. They're all friends outside of work. I've never seen anything like this in the 14 years I've been in the business. And that's probably the biggest reason why I'm actually made the jump to St. James, and I didn't take one of the other offers because I had been looking around for management opportunities and I had some other job offers, and I chose here, which is probably the furthest away from the scope of Black Label. And then I actually threw a resume into Volkswagen as a, like, I hate to say a joke because Volkswagen obviously is not a joke, but I just couldn't ever picture myself working at a Volkswagen store. Just, I was left Cadillac with 26-inch rims and big massive trucks and that kind of stuff. That was more Black Label at the time. I didn't think that, they would even look at it. And I got a phone call like 24 hours later. And they wanted to meet with me. So I took the meeting, and the first meeting I just vibed with Sonny, the general manager, and Dustin Davey, the general sales manager, two guys I respect a ton in the business. And we had very similar ideals of what the business meant to us and what the business is to us. And those guys believed in accolades before money as well, even though money is an important part of the business, don't get me wrong. But we all had goals of being the best. We want to be the best Volkswagen store, not just in Winnipeg, but in Canada. And that's the goal for us. So when I met like-minded individuals like myself, those are the type of guys I wanted to be with. So it was easy to make the decision once I got to know the guys I'd be working with. And I'll always figure out a way to make Black Label and Brock work, like I said, right? So I wasn't worried about the product. I was worried about the people behind the product. That was more important to me. And when I met the right people, I knew it was the right place to be.
Were there a lot of naysayers? Because, Black Label, traditionally, it's custom trucks.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're coming into electric vehicles, SUVs, like passenger vehicles.
Right.
What was the convincing of, I can do this on a Golf. I can't do this on an Atlas.
You know what? The convincing was naysayers that were talking a lot of shit online.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person, if you really want to get me going, you really want to motivate me, tell me I can't do it.
Right.
So I had people like, how are you going to Black Label a VW? You're going to do this. People saying, oh, have fun with the Beetle. We don't even make the Beetle.
Great car.
Yeah, like
That'd
just
be sick though. Imagine a tinted Beetle. That'd be sick.
Yeah, but you know what, man? And I love that you said that would be sick, because it's probably sick to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about Black Label. It doesn't matter what car line or what vehicle it is. There's a lifestyle that comes with driving a custom car that puts you as a certain type of person. And that's why we call the clothing line Black Label Lifestyle, because owning a Black Label isn't just like buying a piece of metal, it's a lifestyle. You're the type of person that believes in the way it looks, it drives, and you had maybe a hand in making it look that way.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle brand in a sense as well too. And that's the great thing about Black Label. But yeah, they were talking shit, and I just pretty much said to myself, like, hold my beer, I'll show you.
Yeah.
And we're actually selling more units now out of Volkswagen Black Label than we did as Cadillac GM.
Wow.
So it was just about finding the right brand, and I think Volkswagen's definitely that one. We still work on all makes and models, but we specialize, and it's exclusively here at St. James.
What's it like seeing the success of your hard work pay off?
It's the best. That's the most addictive thing I've ever done in my life.
Does it make you want to go more, or do you feel a sense of relief now?
No, I never feel relieved.
Yeah.
I always want more, and like I mentioned, I'm always trying to level up.
Yeah.
Take the next step. So if we sell 5, I want to sell 10. If we sell 10, I want to sell 20. I want to sell so many that they're selling themselves, right? And that you see them everywhere. Always trying to grow the business as large as possible. Always trying to take that next step or that next opportunity is key in my eyes.
The car behind us, there's another one in front of me. I see Billy the dummy.
Oh, you like that?
I see it's all Black labeled out.
That's right.
This is the fruits to the labors.
That's right.
For 14 years, this is what you've been working for. All the struggles, all the dark points in your life, the bologna sandwiches.
That's right.
This is a great. You're sitting here with us, at least, thankfully, sharing this moment.
Yeah.
You ever have time to reflect and be like, yo, I kind of did it. Like,
you know what? And I love that you brought this up, because I just did that for the first time the other day.
Yeah.
I did a shout out on my Instagram, because for the first time, we were selling Black Labels out at the other store, and we were selling them a lot, but it was never to this level where they're actually on display in the showroom with my advertising, with everything that I've worked so hard for over the past 7 years with building Black Label. Finally came full circle. Like, we have 2 units in the showroom. The Black Label Lifestyle merchandise is on the mannequin, Billy, Black Label Billy here. We got our custom wheels here, right? Like, to me, I feel like it's come full circle, and I finally made it to where I want to be.
Yeah.
There's always more. I'm always pushing. I definitely want to go further in my career, but as far as Black Label goes, we definitely got to where we wanted to go, finally. And again, it's just from meeting the right people that believe in me and believe in the brand. Sonny, Dustin, Davies, Jesse, Taylor, my management staff that I work with. Without their help, I never would have got here so quickly too. Sonny, when he met me, he saw the vision that I have, he saw the ambition, and he gave me the opportunity to show him.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing right now is I'm showing him and Dustin. And again, I want to give some praise to my colleagues, Taylor and Jesse, because without the two of them, boys, oh man, this job would be so much harder for me. It's been a humbling experience, trust me. Doing more of the, another mentor of mine would say the clickety-click, the systems, and less on the floor is something that I struggle with. Okay. Selling the cars for me is the easy part. It's like the computer systems and filling out logs and spreadsheets and that kind of stuff. I'm not the best at that, but I'm working on it. So I'm happy that I have the team I have behind me, because like I said, we're all better at certain things.
Yeah.
And that's something that Jesse tells me all the time. We're better at certain things than any other. So I'll be good at what I'm good at. You be good at what you're good at, and we'll find some middle ground.
I have to give you a lot of respect in the world of business, in the world of being a father, a family man,
Oh,
and
thanks, man.
especially what you've built. Something that I personally look, in conversations we've had, a couple of them.
Yeah,
at this
we've
point.
had a few by now, yeah.
I respect it a lot, and I
appreciate you saying that.
And I think everyone can learn from it, and I'm personally going to take a lot from it as well. If there's one thing that you would want, if we left here and there was something that you wanted the world to know about you, or a message that you want to share with the world, what would that be?
If I can say to anyone that's watching this, I would hope that they would take my story and my ambition and my drive and try and apply it to their own life. If you've listened to the whole podcast, you would know I've had huge highs and huge lows, but I've always clawed my way back to the top in one way or another. And anyone that has that type of drive or determination can do that too. So I hope that everyone sees that and takes from it on this episode as well.
Any advice you can give to the listeners out there, who are going through hard times in their life and quite don't see the light at the end of the tunnel? What is advice you can give to them to go chase their dreams and ultimately be the light that they need at the end of the tunnel?
For me personally, it was asking for help when I was in those dark places.
Yeah.
I needed some help, and that's what I got, right? I was lucky I had good friends and family that were there to help me. So if you're in that place and you need help, ask someone for help. Never be too tough or too cool to ask somebody for help. There's nothing, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It doesn't make you less of a man not to ask someone for help. So you're never going to get it unless you ask for it, right? So my advice to you would be ask for help, take that help, and try and get some sense of yourself before moving on.
All right. On that note, I think this is the perfect way to end off the podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to check out Brock. We'll tag everything in the description below. A huge thank you to St. James Volkswagen here in Winnipeg. If you're looking for a car, if you're looking for the Black Label lifestyle, please come check out St. James Volkswagen. What's the address?
670 Century.
670 Century. Come buy a Black Label. And
That's
until
right.
next time.
Black
Peace.
Label merch now.
Jeez.
Peace. Thank you.
Okay, boys.